Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. Cheated on my husband of 10 years. Drunk one night stand. Immediately confessed. Feeling lost. We had been drinking at home and got into an argument. I went to the bar by myself to clear my head. Immediately approached by a guy and we started talking. I told him I was married. We spent several hours talking, drinking, and then had sex. I was very wasted. I don't remember the details of it at all. I walked in the door and immediately told my husband, which I also don't really remember. I am remorseful. He wants to forgive me. It's just not that easy. We love each other, and our marriage isn't perfect, but we were always working to make it better. Now that I've done this, it's just so much worse. He bounces back and forth between feeling sad/insecure and needing my love and affection, and being extremely angry with me. I bounce back and forth between trying to forget it ever happened, which given my lack of memory from the night is actually easy to do, and getting very depressed over the hurt that I've caused him and the overwhelming self-hatred I feel. I just don't know why I did it. I have excuses, but nothing that would ever justify my actions. I don't know how to help us heal. I don't know if I deserve his forgiveness. We already see therapists individually. We plan to go together. It's been 2 weeks. We have a daughter together. Help. Edit to add, thank you to everyone who responded. I won't be able to check this post again for a while, but I'm appreciative of the tough love, advice, and reading materials. I know this sub is full of a lot of people who have been hurt by assholes like myself, and I know your inclination is to hate me, but thank you for helping me. What are you doing to help your husband deal with your cheating? Are you transparent with social media and electronics? Do you make sure that he knows where you are and what you are doing? Have you apologized? Are you willing to apologize every time your husband is having a difficult time dealing with his cheating wife? You don't go to a bar to get clear-headed? You go to drink and socialize? It sounds like you don't take enough blame for your actions. This didn't just happen. You decided to go to a bar instead of a friend's house, church, library, coffee shop, etc. You decided to talk and flirt with another man. You decided to continue to drink. You decided to kiss. Then grope. Then go to his house or car and then you decide to remove clothing. At any time you could have stopped but you didn't. You destroyed the marriage you had. Now it's up to you to do the very hard work of rebuilding. This will take years to rebuild what you destroyed. It may be too much work, especially if you are already complaining about how difficult this situation is. I didn't mean to tell the story in a way that sounded like I wasn't taking the blame or wanted to complain about the difficulty of the situation. I'm here for advice. Drunk or not, I know exactly what I did and I am 100% to blame for it all. As far as what I am doing now to help, I have apologized, and will continue to do so. We have always been transparent in our relationship as far as social media/electronics. I've stopped drinking, and have agreed to not go out socializing without him until he's comfortable. I've tried to give him comfort, or space, depending on what he needs at the moment. I feel like I could be doing more, I just don't know what. Has your husband wanted to have sex with you? Are you normally sexually generous with your husband? He might appreciate it if you were especially generous with him to show him that you aren't holding yourself back from him. Acts of kindness and service to show him that you love him and that you are willing to work hard to make him better. Do you often go out without him? I wouldn't do that even if he said he was comfortable. I feel like we are having more sex than usual. Is that strange? I think it was more awkward for me the first few times than it was for him. I kept having flashbacks to that night and couldn't get it out of my head that I had let someone else touch me. It's also been more passionate. I think this is all stemming from the fact that our sex life had been in a lull after our daughter was born, and maybe he feels that I was seeking satisfaction elsewhere. So now we're both kind of upping our game. Is that makes sense? Regarding going out, we used to do everything together pre-baby. Lack of reliable sitters has led us to taking turns more often. It's called hysterical bonding. It's very common for sex to increase in frequency and passion post-infidelity. But won't last forever, and when it ends, sex may be hard on your husband. Oh, there's a name for it. Interesting. Makes a lot of sense, although it's upsetting that the hope it gave me might just be false hope. It's very primal in the sense of trying to reclaim something that was something. Just enjoy it while it lasts. Recovery from infidelity is a very long process with many ups and downs. Be prepared to be repairing the damage from this one night for years to come. Also be prepared for the betrayal to be too much for your husband to reconcile with. You seemed to have done the right things so far, confessing, therapy, etc. You've been correctly told that you are experiencing hysterical bonding. That is correct. It normally fades over time, but it doesn't have to. Make your relationship the top priority in your life. Make date nights with your husband a top priority. That means working harder to get babysitters. When he isn't initiating, then you need to step up. Let him know that he is your priority. Many parents wrongly make their children the top priority. Our children need to see parents who are fully committed to each other and work hard to keep each other as their priority. I would strongly urge you not to do separate nights out ever. Likely your husband will be worried sick and be triggered by your going out. Ask other couples who they use. Find a couple of reliable babysitters and pay them enough to want to sit for you again. Everything you mentioned behavior-wise is typical. You violated him and your relationship in the most vile and selfish way possible. His entire world just came crumbling down around him. Expect the emotional roller coaster, and he has that right. There are a few starter packs on here. Check the sidebar for this that can help you both. Just remember, this isn't going to be an easy process for either of you, and that 10 years you had is gone. The relationship you forge with will always be D-Day plus _. That isn't to say you can't recover and have a happy and healthy relationship. It's that this is a new origin point for you. If you love him and want this to work, you have a long journey ahead of you. The first would be to find resources to help you understand each other. Good luck. Thank you. Update: cheating on my husband during a drunk one-night stand. Update original post. Hi everyone. I was surprised when I checked my spam folder one day and found all these message/chat requests for an update on this post. A lot of you had kind words, so thank you. I'm really happy to let everyone know that we are together, and are better than ever. The first few months were extremely tough and emotional. We talked openly and honestly about that night, about the past 10 years, about our future, about unhealthy drinking habits, our sex life, ect. We talked and talked and talked. We never separated. We also never went to counseling. I'm sure counseling could have helped, but for whatever reason, we hashed it all out in private. We took a vacation 4 months after, just the two of us. That was a real turning point. There was no doubt after that trip that we were staying together. We were still best friends, like we always had been, and we knew it needed to stay that way. Several months after that we decided to try for another baby, and now we are a family of 4. A year after that we moved several states away and we're living a totally fresh new life. The move really helped solidify that it was in the past. I don't mean to make it all seem simple, because it wasn't. It was hard and scary and the lowest point of our relationship by far. Even when things started turning for the better, he didn't trust me for a very long time. Sometimes in an argument about something else, this whole thing would resurface. I've dealt with a lot of self-loathing. I'm extremely lucky to have a husband that sincerely loves me unconditionally, even when I don't deserve it. I could have lost my whole life. I hope my story offers a little hope to those of you still in the trenches. Edit: just to clarify something, yes, almost a year after this happened we decided to get pregnant. And 3 years after it happened we took jobs in a different state that brought us closer to family. I don't think this is rug sweeping or trying to cure anything with a baby or relocation. It's called living your life. None of this is black and white. There is no wrong or right way. You don't have all the details. And there certainly isn't some standard timeline we all need to be following. And he has forgiven me, but he has not forgotten. I'm well aware. And he is not weak for his forgiveness, and I'm not a horrible person because I did a horrible thing. I know people here say hurtful things because they are hurting, but we're all here because we've gone through something awful. And if someone is choosing to give you a few paragraphs attempting to summarize something very monumental in their life, maybe be less judgmental. I would imagine that telling him immediately is the only thing that made reconciliation possible. If only more waywards could wrap their self-preserving egos around that fact, more marriages might survive. Trickling, lying, omitting, minimizing and rationalizing are the toughest barriers for the BS to get past. This is so true. The cover-up ends up being way worse than the crime sometimes. Agreed, people make mistakes. Dishonesty, however, is not a mistake and leads to far worse PTSD than her husband had to endure. These stories rarely work the way they're intended to, but when it does, it's very satisfying. This sub needs to remember that people are people and true to their nature. There can be true remorse. There can be healing. There can be brutally honest dialogue that leads to a strengthened relationship. It just takes two. Best of luck, Op, and thanks for updating us. Sounds like you are doing great. I have to wonder how he would say he is doing. Did you stop drinking? This is vital. There's no good excuse, but worse things have been done with far better intentions. You're not some kind of monster, and hearing you've strengthened your relationship and hopefully solved some issues both together and individually. Marriage is hard and is by and large considered temporary or thrown away these days, but a marriage is exactly what you make it. It can be a partnership, extended love affair, or lifelong friendship, and people tend to forget it's never perfect. I'm always rooting for reconciliation if both people want to reconcile, but it doesn't always work. If both parties are honest and communicate regularly instead of just letting certain sleeping dogs lie, and don't let anyone but each other decide what their marriage is supposed to be, it's possible. Nothing will undo what you did, nothing will change the circumstances, but acknowledging it and accepting there's never a good excuse for infidelity or intentionally hurting each other in any way, you can still have a great marriage. Forgiveness is easy. You made a selfish decision while impaired. You can work past that, but overcoming the fear and doubt it creates in him and in yourself takes work, dedication, and love for one another. I'm rooting for you guys. You can get through this, and it sounds like you're well on your way. Keep working at it. It's worth having someone you can count on, especially in times like these. Guarantee he's still in agony about it, either by force, shock dissociation, or by necessity to function. Good to remind yourself how lucky you are. Please make sure to remind him even if he says he's okay, or acts okay. I'm glad you two moved on. That's great. It's not easy admitting when you've epically slaughtered someone's soul, and people do grow. Love him more than ever. Probably not agony, but he's still working his way back. It takes years to discover all the little ways in which it has affected you. But the only way out is through. Whether they reconcile or not, it will haunt them both for a long time to come. It's been a decade and her affair still haunts me. Not just how it affected me, but how to deal with her uncertainty of herself. The guilty parties incessantly second-guessing themselves after discovering they weren't as secure in themselves or their relationship as they thought. Is reconciliation possible? Am I going to do it again? Can I still fall that far, sink that low, be so easily misled? Are they better off without me? The worst part was the grocery store. She wouldn't go alone and wanted to be with me, but constantly asking if I think 5 pounds of potatoes is enough, or do I want Pepsi or Coke, or is $1.99 a good price? It drove me mad. You don't have to change everything from the way it was before. Potatoes aren't bringing back bad memories, and I was quite confident in her judgment on affairs of the pantry, just not the heart, not right away. The doubt he's combating and will be combating for at least a year or two is, did her uninhibited state clue her into her unhappiness with him? Was she just drunk enough to realize he's woefully inadequate? Is she going to come to this breakthrough in another month, or year? Does he really make her happy? The answer is always yes. If a person chooses to reconcile or stay despite wanting or needing more to spare a good man or woman's feelings, then you make them happy, just not always happy enough. That's for the two of them to figure out during this reconciliation process. It's an uphill battle. My wife and I's entire relationship dynamic changed, and we dealt with the problems we had that led us to change what our marriage was and what we wanted out of it. If you love each other, there's a way. Whether it's worth it or whether it's something you can accept is another story. I had to accept some hard truths about myself, things I didn't even admit to myself at the time. She found out she wasn't above seeking out what she couldn't get at home and what it meant about her. We worked our way through it and keep working. After a decade of trials and tribulations, we've concluded we are better together than apart. The rest came easier. I tend to agree with this. Maybe not that agony part, but I bet he thinks about it often. Up is very lucky, but it also should be said that she confessed right away, to her credit. This seemed more like a way to hurt him than anything else, which may account for telling him. Probably gonna get a little lash back if you are the WS in this case. That being said, despite the low long-term success rates of reconciliation, I hope you and your family have found peace/happiness, and all of you work to maintain it. For your husband's sake, please understand that infidelity trauma can last a lifetime, and be as supportive as you can. You should still seek professional counseling. Yes, things seem great, but unless dealt with in a time when you two have an argument or are not feeling as close to each other, or life gets in the way or other problems, they can come out again. Congrats on staying together. Divorce is not always the answer, despite what you read. Also, for realizing alcohol can be a problem. Often people don't realize that until they have lost everything. One thing you two might want to consider, something my wife and I practiced. We don't socialize apart from each other. If we go out, it is as a couple. There are no boys or girls nights out. No staying after work and hanging with co-workers. If one isn't invited, the other doesn't go either. We jealously guard and respect our relationship at all times. This has worked great for 34 years so far. Wait, is there a spam folder in Reddit? I read your last post and I'm really happy for you. You did a bad thing, but, from what I read, handled it extremely maturely. You took full responsibility. I heard a saying once, judge a man not by the mistakes he makes, but by how he chooses to correct them. Fair play up. I wish you and your family the best in the future. Most of this comment section would not agree with you. I hope they don't do anything seriously horrible at any point in their lives, because they'll be shot in the back by their own philosophy. My heartfelt congratulations. It's not easy. It never will be. My wife cheated on me. She confessed a week later. We worked together to get us back. We worked hard. It wasn't easy. Triggers still happen. Insecurity and uncertainty still raise their ugly head. It still hurts. There's not a day goes by that I don't wish it never happened. Though they're fewer and further between, the triggers still tear at my gut. She can recognize when it happens. She goes into protective mode to help me out of it. Again, it's not easy. You'd think after almost 40 years it would be totally gone. Obviously it ain't gonna happen, so we deal with it and we'll keep on dealing with it. We're still together, we're still in love, we're still best friends. However, pre-D-Day doesn't exist. Our life, and it's still a good one, is D-Day plus. After reading Reddit for so many years, I see that infidelity never goes away. No matter who is the erring one. It's always the elephant in the room. Many relationships survive. Many don't. If it's worth saving, it will survive. It looks like you guys are on the strong track. Good for you. Glad to hear you're both doing well. It's nice to know that reconciliation is a plausible route if both parties want it. Well, it's good to hear good news. But the question remains, what have you actually done to prevent future cheating? Seems to me like y'all decided to rug sweep the whole thing, subsequently rewarding you for your betrayal. Having long talks is all fine and dandy, but that is not actually doing anything about changing the person you were, the person who could betray someone you allegedly love. I've been there, done that. I'm a WS, the long intimate talks are great, but that's not what had me change. It took professional help, for me, to even identify the issues in my head that caused me to be that guy. Turns out, humans are generally very horrible at figuring out their own brains. Chances are very high that you're still the same person who can and will cheat, extremely high, in fact. I would never be able to forgive you, and regardless of what he says, you have changed the trust in your relationship forever. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please comment, like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night. Wherever you are.